I refused to accept that I was wrong. I couldn't, not after everything I had invested into that relationship. He should have waited for me. 6 months isn't a long time. He should have known that we would figure things out, but instead he just replaced me. Hey, I'm Manny. I open the velvet case, my fingers lightly grazing the edges of the rings. They're all so shiny, so flawless, but none of them feel right. What if it's too much? What if she thinks I've gone overboard? I imagine Claudia's face, her reaction, but doubt still lingers. 3 years. That's how long Claudia and I have been together. She has this drive, this energy that sometimes I can't keep up with. She's always looking forward, setting new goals. I love that about her. Me, I'm more grounded. I like things steady, knowing where I stand. We balance each other out. She's the dreamer, and I'm the one who makes sure we have a solid base. It works. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who would dive into something serious so quickly. But with her, it feels right. We've spent 3 years carving out small moments of joy, weekends away, trying new restaurants, watching movies for hours, talking about everything and nothing at once. Sometimes we discuss marriage, but it's always casual, maybe one day kind of thing. But recently I've felt it in my bones. It's time. I've already picked the weekend, 2 weeks from now, a cabin by a lake. Nothing extravagant, just quiet and away from everything. I can already picture it. The trees, the water, me kneeling down, pulling out the ring. Now I'm here in the jewelry store, pacing in front of the display. The saleswoman is watching me, standing behind the counter, waiting for me to make a decision. She's smiling like she knows exactly what I'm thinking. "Can I help you?" she asks. I glance up. "Yeah, I think so. I need to find a ring." She raises an eyebrow, her smile growing wider. "For someone special?" she asks. I hesitate. "It's for my girlfriend. I'm planning to propose." Her smile grows even bigger. "Congratulations, do you have anything in mind?" I rub my neck, scanning the sparkling rings. None of them feel right for Claudia. Some are too large, too flashy. Others are too plain. I want something perfect, but the pressure is starting to weigh on me. I'm thinking something simple, not too much. I swallow hard, the doubt creeping in. What if it's not enough? What if she doesn't like it? What if I mess this up? "Something timeless," the woman suggests, her fingers running over the glass display. I nod. "Yeah, something like that." She nods back and pulls out a ring. It's small, understated, but elegant in its own way. My heart skips a beat. This could be it. I picture Claudia's face when I give it to her laugh, the way she'll shake her head like she can't believe this is happening. I imagine the cabin again, just the two of us, away from everything. It's the perfect setting, the perfect moment. I stare at the ring, but now the store feels like it's closing in on me. The decision feels huge, permanent. I think about her, how she lights up when she talks about her future, how she's always pushing forward, always thinking about the next step. And here I am, holding this ring. Is this the next step? Is she ready for it? I look at the saleswoman. "I'll take it." She smiles, but I don't think she understands the storm raging inside me. I don't think she feels the weight of what I'm about to do. As I leave the store, a small box tucked in my coat pocket, I feel like I'm holding more than just a piece of jewelry. I'm holding the rest of our lives. "Hey there, I'm Claudia." I didn't expect this. We were sitting by the fire. The whole weekend had been so simple. Manny suggested this little getaway just for the two of us, and I was all in. I mean, how could I say no to a cabin by a lake, away from the usual chaos of life? It sounded perfect, but as soon as we arrived, I realized something. It wasn't special enough. I looked around at the trees and the water, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't grand enough. It was nice, but it wasn't a moment. We hiked, we talked, we drank wine by the fire, all those cozy things. Sure, we were enjoying ourselves, but a good time and a life-changing moment are two very different things. I wanted more than just a good time. I wanted a moment that would take my breath away, something that would be Instagram-worthy, you know? Something that would stand out. This felt regular. The more I thought about it, the more I realized maybe Manny didn't get it. I wasn't looking for a quiet weekend in nature. I was looking for a moment that matched the importance of the question. Was that too much to ask? Then it happened. Manny dropped to one knee, and I think my heart skipped a beat, but not in the way he hoped. I had no idea this was coming, no clue he was going to propose. But when he pulled out the ring, I felt shocked. Not in a wow, this is amazing way, more like a wait, hold on moment. I tried to hide my reaction, but I could tell Manny was watching me closely, waiting for a response. My first instinct was to smile and say yes, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't. The setting just didn't feel right. I can't, I said, and I saw his face fall. But honestly, how could I say yes to something that felt so underwhelming? I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just couldn't ignore the fact that this felt so small. It was so intimate, so low-key. It didn't scream forever to me. It felt more like something you do once you're already married, not before. I imagined something grander, like a rooftop dinner in Paris with fireworks in the background. I don't know, something memorable. He just stared at me. I think he was expecting something entirely different. I'm sure he had this whole idea in his head about how it would go, but this wasn't it. It didn't even come close. I knew it sounded bad, but I couldn't get past it. This was a moment. It needed to be something I'd never forget, not something we'd look back on and shrug about in a few years. I could tell he was hurt, and I didn't apologize. I couldn't. The last thing I wanted was to end up in a marriage where I regretted the proposal. I needed more than just a cozy cabin, more than just us by the fire. The rest of the weekend felt off. Manny didn't say much. He tried to engage, but it was clear everything felt tense between us. I was disappointed, but I wasn't about to apologize for wanting more. So I kept the silence going, with little passive-aggressive remarks that only made things worse. The tension kept building. The more I thought about it, the more I felt maybe it was a sign. Maybe we needed some time apart. He was fine with quiet, simple things, but that wasn't enough for me. Now I felt a distance between us that wasn't just about the proposal. Then, like a gift from the universe, an email landed in my inbox, a 6-month project overseas. At first, I didn't think about the timing, but once I saw it, I knew it was the perfect excuse. It was like fate was telling me to take a step back, to let us both breathe. A break would give us space to figure things out. Manny would have time to process the rejection and maybe even realize what I needed from him. I was sure he'd wait for me. I was confident that when I came back, we could revisit the proposal, but it would have to be the right way, the grand way. I would make sure of it. I told Manny, of course, but he didn't really react. He probably thought I was overreacting, but I didn't care. I needed this. I needed to focus on myself, on my career, on the future I wanted to build. Manny could wait. He always waited for me, and when I came back, everything would be different, better, more worthy of the moment. I never imagined it would feel like this. I thought rejection would sting, sure, but nothing like this. Claudia's words kept echoing in my mind long after the weekend ended. I imagined something bigger, she said, like a rooftop dinner in Paris, fireworks, something memorable. The way she said it, so casually, like she was picking out a sweater she didn't like, it hurt more than I expected. I wasn't just crushed by her rejection. I was embarrassed. How could I have been so blind? I had everything planned. I thought it was perfect, but she didn't see it that way. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I had been so focused on what I thought was right and what I wanted that I missed all the subtle signs. The distance, the way she always talked about the future like it was some far-off dream we'd get to someday, but she never really included me in it. Maybe I was the fool for thinking she was as committed as I was. When she left for her work assignment overseas, something clicked. It was like the universe gave me a nudge, telling me it was time to move on. It was hard, no doubt, but I couldn't keep holding on to someone who wasn't ready for what I wanted. I spent nights lying awake, wondering how everything went so wrong. Maybe it was time to let go. Then Rebecca reached out. She was Claudia's close friend, someone I had met a few times during our relationship. At first, I thought she was just being polite, checking in because I had been quiet after everything went down. But her message wasn't just a, "Hey, how are you?" kind of thing. It was more thoughtful, like she genuinely cared. She listened when I vented. She let me say everything I had been holding in about Claudia, the confusion, the hurt, the frustration. And she didn't judge me. It felt good to have someone who understood without being emotionally involved, someone who just got it. Over time, we started hanging out more. At first, it was just casual, grabbing coffee, talking about random things. But there was an ease between us. She was kind, warm, and always seemed to know the right thing to say to make me feel better. I found myself looking forward to our conversations, even the small ones. There was no pressure, no expectations, and the more time I spent with Rebecca, the more I realized something. She saw the real me, not the version I'd been playing to please someone else, and that felt amazing. She didn't need grand gestures to feel valued. She enjoyed the simple things, like walking around a city at sunset, cooking dinner together, or just having deep conversations about life and our futures. She didn't expect anything but for me to be myself, and that was incredibly freeing. I'm not sure when it happened exactly. It wasn't some big dramatic moment, no fireworks or grand declarations. But somewhere along the way, I began to fall for her. I started to care in ways I hadn't even realized I could again. And it didn't hurt the way it had with Claudia. It felt different, lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Before I knew it, we were spending more time together. Weekends away, little trips to new places. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was just us, enjoying each other's company. Rebecca had a way of encouraging me too. She listened to my ideas, big or small, and instead of dismissing them, she helped me figure out how to make them happen. That was the thing with Rebecca. She didn't just let me be. She pushed me to be my best self, but without any of the pressure I'd felt before. I felt valued for who I was, flaws and all. I didn't even realize how much I had been missing that until I had it again. As our relationship grew, I started thinking about the future differently. I wasn't just aiming to keep things simple for the sake of simplicity. I realized I wanted to give Rebecca something special, something that felt right. But this time I knew better. I wasn't going to make the same mistake I did with Claudia. This proposal had to be something memorable, something that matched the love I felt for her. I started planning. It wasn't rushed. It took time because I wanted it to be perfect, but not perfect in the way Claudia would have wanted. This was going to be perfect for us. I rented a place with a beautiful view of the city, nothing flashy but gorgeous in its own way. I hired a videographer because I wanted to capture the moment, not just for us, but for everyone who mattered to us. I wanted it to be unforgettable, but in a way that was all about us, not about impressing anyone or ticking off some checklist. The day of the proposal arrived and I was nervous, but not in the way I had been with Claudia. This wasn't about fear. It was about anticipation. It felt right. I could see Rebecca standing there, glowing in her own way, and I knew she was the one. When I asked her to marry me, I saw her eyes light up, and that was all I needed. She said yes, and in that moment everything fell into place. I didn't feel the weight of the past anymore. I didn't feel like I was making up for something I'd gotten wrong. I was just happy, and that's when I realized Claudia's rejection wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of something new, something better. I couldn't have gotten here without everything that happened before, without learning what I truly needed, without realizing that love doesn't have to be grand to be real. It just has to be right. Rebecca and I are planning our future now, and it feels effortless. I don't have to wonder if she's the one. I know she is, and I'll never take that for granted. I felt it, the confidence, the rush of success that came with finishing my project and finally returning home after 6 long months. During my time away, I convinced myself that Manny would miss me more than anything. I thought being apart would only make him realize how much he needed me, that he'd be waiting for me, ready to pick up where we left off. It only made sense, right? We had something special, or at least I thought we did. 6 months apart, sure, it was a test, but I figured it was nothing we couldn't overcome. So I walked off the plane, expecting Manny to be there, waiting to sweep me off my feet and pick up right where we left off. I even smiled to myself as I walked through the terminal, scanning the crowd for him. There were people greeting their loved ones, but I was sure I'd see Manny's face soon enough. He'd be smiling, arms outstretched, ready to make everything right. But nothing. I didn't see him. Not right away. Maybe he was running late. Maybe his car broke down. I pulled out my phone and dialed his number. I listened as it rang and rang. He wasn't picking up. Okay, no big deal. Maybe he was busy. Maybe he didn't hear it. But something about it felt off. The whole trip back, I kept thinking that by now, Manny should have missed me enough to be at the airport. He would be there. But he wasn't. Annoyed, I grabbed my suitcase and got an Uber. Fine, I wasn't going to let this ruin my mood. Manny was probably just being Manny. I'd deal with it when I got home. I barely had time to settle into the back of the cab before my phone buzzed. I grabbed it eagerly, thinking maybe this was finally it. A text, a call, something. But no, it wasn't a text. It was a video from Manny. At first, I thought it was just some silly clip. Maybe him saying he was running late, or a funny "I miss you" video. But when I clicked on it, my stomach sank. The video wasn't just a casual message. It was a recording of him standing in front of some beautiful setting, holding a small box. He was smiling, but it wasn't the smile I remembered. It was almost smug, distant. And then, before I could even process it, he dropped to one knee. Wait, no. Manny, standing in front of a camera, proposing to Rebecca. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. And as if that wasn't enough, right after the proposal footage, Manny's face appeared again, this time giving me a full-on middle finger salute, directed right at me. I didn't need to see anything else. I already knew. This was his way of saying goodbye, his way of showing me exactly how he felt about me, about us. I wasn't the one anymore. I wasn't the one he'd been waiting for. It wasn't me. And then it hit me. The feeling of betrayal. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone, throw anything. I wanted to erase the humiliation. The ride felt like it dragged on forever. I couldn't focus on anything but that damn video. I didn't know how to process the emotions rushing through me, the heartbreak, the fury, the pure humiliation of watching him, Manny, the guy who couldn't even get his act together to meet me at the airport, propose to my best friend. I couldn't breathe. I needed to stop the car. I needed air. I needed to think. "Stop here," I told the driver, barely able to form the words. I stepped out of the cab and found myself in a park, quiet, but nothing inside my head felt quiet. My hands were shaking, my chest tight. I paced around in circles, trying to make sense of it all. What had just happened? How could he have moved on so quickly? Was I really that easy to forget? Was she really that much better than me? The anger started bubbling up. I wasn't going to sit there and feel sorry for myself. Manny wasn't the one, I said aloud, like saying it would make it true. I started thinking of all the ways he failed me. how he didn't understand me, how he couldn't give me what I needed. I thought about everything I had wanted, the proposal, the grand gestures, the romance, and I realized it wasn't unreasonable. He was the one who didn't get it. He was the one who couldn't meet me halfway. He was the one who overreacted. It's not my fault, Rebecca. That was the worst part, the fact that it was her. She had always been around, just in the background, and now here she was in front of me, taking what was mine. She was a backstabber, a traitor. I refused to believe I was wrong. I couldn't, not after everything I'd put into that relationship. He should have waited for me. 6 months, that's nothing. He should have known we'd figure things out. But no, he just replaced me. I could feel the tears coming, but I refused to let them fall. Not now, not when I knew deep down I wasn't the one in the wrong. It was Manny. He was the one who didn't fight for me. I wasn't going to let him make me feel like the villain, not when all I wanted was something special. I stood there for a long time, trying to talk myself out of the pain, trying to convince myself I didn't need him, that I was fine. But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd lost him, and I wasn't ready to admit it yet.